everybody. Hi, naturalists. We are back with some nature time adventures from home videos, now in the great state of Pennsylvania. My family and I moved this summer, so I am now getting to know a brand new nature neighborhood, and I'm excited to share what I noticed with you and also kind of supplement and enhance any of the at-home learning that you are doing this school year. Now, I wanted to kick it off with a video for parents and caregivers who might be exploring this outdoor nature-based learning for the first time. It can be daunting, it can be overwhelming, but it's also really exciting, and you'll very quickly see just how beneficial time spent outside is for your little adventurer or your little budding naturalist. Now, I've been doing this for a little while, but anytime I start out with a new program, a new space, a new group of kids, I always try and develop a routine early on. And I introduce that to the children so that they know what's going on. They feel a sense of consistency. They have a sense of autonomy over what's going on because they know it's predictable. I'm sure you all know some littles who need that predictability. Maybe you need it yourself in your life. It's really important for people to feel safe and comfortable. Now, one of the most important things, I think, is developing a deep connection to a place for your nature study. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to do the exact same space all the time and not go anywhere else. It just means that your kids will feel rooted. They'll feel a deep connection. They'll feel a sense of stewardship. They'll want to care for this space if they're visiting it, yes, hello, every single day or once a week or regularly enough that they can develop a relationship with that space. So you can't quite see it, but this is a hemlock tree right behind me, and I've chosen this as my space. There are tons of cool things to see around me, but the boughs of the hemlock tree provide a nice cover, a nice protection. This is the exact place that a deer might come to snooze in the wintertime to avoid getting covered in snow. It felt safe to me, it called to me, so this is my place that I'm going to visit regularly, and then of course the surrounding area. Now, if you have littles that you're going to a place with, and you want them to explore, you want them to dive into some deep nature connection, one of the most important things, I think, is setting up some safe boundaries. Now, for our little naturalists, boundaries have to be visual. They have to be clear, and the littles have to understand that there could be hazards beyond the boundaries, and that's why we set them up. Now, I usually use one of any number of tools to set up my boundaries. You could, of course, go and purchase some of those construction stakes, just those little wire stakes with the flag on top. Or you could use something as simple as duct tape that you have at home, brightly colored in red if you can find it. Maybe you have some bright red string or yarn. This is some paracord. Or maybe you have some scraps of fabric, some bandanas. This brown one's not great. I realized that after I brought it out. Brown camouflages with tree bark, Emily. Doesn't stand out, but you get the idea. Something that will visually mark where it's safe for your littles to explore, and that way they'll feel like they're on their own. They'll have a stronger sense of adventure. They'll build that confidence, and eventually you can start to enhance that with longer adventures where they can demonstrate their confidence because they've already built it up in a safe space. So when you're setting up these boundaries, it's super simple. Find a physical structure like a tree and kind of walk your space beforehand. Notice any cliffs or notice any patches of poison ivy. Something that you want to make sure your littles do not encounter. Make sure that's outside of the boundaries, and then mark your safe spaces just like this. So very simply, you are going to mark this tree so that your littles know. There we go. So that your littles know this is the boundary tree and I cannot go past the boundary tree. Boundaries are simple, they're easy to set up, but it will save you a lot of, hey, don't go over there, too far, and make your experience just kind of authentic and a lot more fun. Now, to go right along with our boundaries, I always think about risks and hazards. Risks are fantastic. Risky play builds resiliency, it builds confidence, it builds gross motor skills, it builds all sorts of things for our kids, and it's so important for our children to be able to participate in risky play, but we don't want risks turning into hazards or becoming some sort of hazardous activity, and it's your responsibility as the parent or caregiver to make sure that our risks don't turn into hazards. So setting up your boundaries is a great way to start, making sure you survey and assess your space. But I always like to make sure I know the flora and fauna in my area. So pick yourself up just a great field guide. This is Reader's Digest North American Wildlife. You could get one that's a little more regionally specific and do some research to understand if there's any venomous snakes in your area. Get to know what poison ivy looks like. Make sure you know if there's any bears that live in your neighborhood. I have bears in my yard and it startled me to begin with, but now I'm prepared anytime I go outside, just in case I run into a bear. I don't want to have a conflict. I want to be safe, engage in some risky adventures, but not let those risky adventures turn hazardous. So knowing your place in terms of flora and fauna is just as important as it is for your kids to know their place in terms of developing that relationship and that connection. All right, last tip I want to leave you with today is building a little routine into your day or into your outdoor adventure. So you've got the safety down, you've got your space, now build some routine. So that's going to look different for every family. It might involve songs or games, or it might involve the reward of a cup of hot cocoa after a nature adventure. Whatever works for your family, just include the children in planning those rituals and routines as much as you can. And actually, I forgot to mention it, when you're setting up these boundaries, there they are, boundaries, involve the kids. Have them help you identify hazardous areas and safe areas. Have them tie the string to the tree, and that way they'll remember it even more. So as you're building routine in, maybe sing the good morning song. You can find that on any one of my other videos. Maybe have tea at the end of your nature adventure and share some stories of your day. That can be a great way to build routine is start your nature time with gratitude, sharing what you're grateful for and what you appreciate, and then wrap up your nature time with a little bit of tea or hot cocoa and share some stories of the day together. However you do it, building routine is so important, and I hope you all have great times getting started with your nature adventures at your own home. I'll continue these videos if you have questions or ideas or things you want to hear more about. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll keep up with some great activities and try to help supplement your homeschool and virtual learning. All right, parents and caregivers, I'm going to sign off and go do a nature activity, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.